Right, we're letting everyone in from the waiting rooms, and we're just about to get started here. Want to make sure that everyone's getting in. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for taking time out of your day um, and to have the ability to sit down and talk with us about the different scams that are facing small businesses and just where what we're seeing today. Michelle, have we let everyone in? All right, excellent. So we'll go ahead and get started. My name is Jason. I'm with the Better Business Bureau. And what we have the distinct privilege of having several friends, and they are experts in their field. And I want them to introduce themselves right now. Sean, do you mind introducing yourself?
Hey, thanks, Jason. And we do appreciate the Better Business Bureau hosting this event today. My name's Sean Conroy. I'm the Communications and Outreach Coordinator with the Georgia Department of Law's Consumer Protection Division. We're the state's consumer protection agency, and we work with partners like the BBB and other members of the group this morning that will be introducing themselves soon from the Secretary of State's office and the Federal Trade Commission.
All right, and we're going to go down the list here. Miss Nula, will you tell us who you are?
Yes, good morning, and thanks to all of you for joining us. My name is Nula Zaharis. I work for the Georgia Secretary of State. I'm the Director of the Securities and Charities Division. The Georgia Secretary of State is an agency where a lot of businesses have to come through. For example, you do your corporate filings, others come through to get their licenses and permits. So one area under the Secretary of State is our division, the Securities and Charities Division. And our division is responsible for regulating various investment firms and the investment products that they offer to Georgians. And also we regulate charities and the people who raise money for charities. And protecting Georgians and our Georgia businesses from financial scam is really part of what we do. So we partner with other agencies like the people on the call today to make that happen. Thank you.
Outstanding. Anna, will you tell us more about yourself, please?
Sure. Thanks, Jason. Good morning, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us today. My name is Anna Burns. I am the Regional Director for the Southeast region of the Federal Trade Commission. The Southeast region covers 7 states: North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama, and Mississippi. And we are charged with addressing unfair or deceptive practices in the marketplace and protecting consumers and small businesses. And we thank you so much again for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
Yes, we do. And got another guy here on the call, Mr. Collins. Will you tell us about yourself?
Yep, I'm Kelvin Collins. I'm representing the Better Business Bureau, and our office is actually located in Macon. We serve offices in Augusta and Columbus. However, I think we've got some sister BBBs that have sent this out to their businesses, serving the Savannah area and Atlanta and North Georgia. So we've got businesses from all over participating, but we're honored to be a part of this as the only non-governmental agency that's participating. And, we all work hand in hand. This is probably the 5th or 6th webinar that we've done together, and it's a great opportunity to educate consumers, but also educate business owners as well.
Absolutely. And so we're going to dive right into it. And what we know nowadays is that, man, how do we live without the internet? It is, and it's either friend or foe, it seems like. So, as we're do different things, we find out we might not be talking to the right person or on the right website. Nola, if I'm wanting to invest some money and I'm on the wrong website, that's not a good thing.
No, it's not. And let me start off by saying that, fraud, when you think of fraud, you think of, oh, it's going to happen to me individually, but it actually can impact a business, small or large, and it can have a huge negative impact on your business as it could lead to the critical failure of an otherwise successful business. So it's important that, businesses take note of what's out there. When a scammer targets your business, they're looking for 2 things. They have 2 things in mind. that the scammer is going to make your business a victim of fraud, or he's going to use your business as a vehicle to commit financial fraud on someone else. So in this digital era that we have, where everything's online, almost every aspect of our daily lives is on the internet. So you're using social engineering to, it plays a huge role on how scammers are perpetrating this fraud. So cyber crooks are using online tools to manipulate people into giving up confidential and personal information or take certain actions. And unfortunately, as Jason said, fake websites have become commonplace, and they are a danger. So a fake or imposter website are sites that have been set up for one reason: to fool the web user into thinking that they are legitimate. And they are designed to mimic the actual company's website with the end goal of committing financial fraud. It's all about taking money. So an imposter site is when someone, steals your company's logo or company information to establish an online account or website, and essentially pretends to be you or your business. And in most cases, these are through online merchant sites where there's cash flow, some kind of money transactions. So during the COVID pandemic, this has happened more frequently. We're finding that in the small business community. So the goal of this identity thief or this online shoplifter is to offer similar goods or services that your company provides in hoping of intercepting money and either delivering nothing, or delivering a less than quality product. And the bad thing for you as a business is that this results in an unhappy customer for the legitimate business to handle. And depending on the situation, the customer may leave negative comments about your business, online. We'll be contacting the Better Business Bureau or one of us to complain. And in all cases, it just creates a headache. So I would like to tell you about a couple of ones that we've seen. In the security space, in the investment space, the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority, called FINRA, is a nonprofit organization that regulates its member brokerage firms, the broker-dealer firms, and the exchange markets. So in 2019, many of the brokerage firms had been victims of imposter websites. Scammers mimicked the financial firm's actual websites to engage in financial fraud. So the goal was to obtain, the personal identifying information and login credentials of those brokerage clients. So FINRA discovered this, and they sent out an alert to all the financial firms that this was going on, with some suggestions on what actions that they could take to stop it, which included, notifying the clients. But fraud is not a one-time thing. And just because this particular scam got shut down doesn't mean that it stopped it. Fraudsters are very clever. They're constantly finding new ways to commit fraud online, and they're improving their techniques. So what they did was they took this scam to the next step. So what we're seeing right now is that scammers are using the registered representative names, which registered representatives are the individuals who work for those broker dealers that you as an individual may have a relationship with to manage your money. So they're taking their names and other information to establish websites that appear to be those agents' personal sites. And in those cases, they're also creating email domains and accounts to correspond with those imposter sites. The scammers are reaching out to potential clients and directing them to use the imposter websites. So the client is thinking, oh, I'm speaking with Nuala, financial advisor, and I'm sending her money to invest, when really you're doing it to the imposter. So
how do you determine that you're meeting with the right person or not?
As a client?
Yeah.
Or yes, as the client, not the business. The client, you need to do your due diligence. Make sure that if I'm a client and I get an email from my financial advisor, for example, I know that we don't converse really through email, that we follow it up with a telephone call. As a client, if I'm thinking that I'm talking to someone, I would pick up the phone and actually look online and get the real number, for the brokerage firm, and probably confirm, does this person actually work here? Am I talking to this individual? Now, as a business, you're on the flip side. So what are you going to do as a business when someone's taken over your website and pretending to be you? So there are some steps that you can take as a business. And the one thing you could do is do a regular search. Do a regular search on Google on your business name to see what comes up. It's interesting that things are constantly changing on the internet. So it's best to set a regular habit of doing that. You put it down as a monthly or quarterly thing that you're going to monitor the digital footprint of your company online. If you go out there and you see, oh, there's someone else who looks like me, the name is very, very similar, may have a little misspelling there, maybe, slight tweak. You want to run there's a search called Who Is, which is www.whois.net. So you can run it on that site to determine who the host provider is and the domain, registers associated with that. And in some cases, the site will also provide, relevant contact information. So once you do your search, another proactive thing to do is to reach out and get help and report it. So you want to report it to, maybe local law enforcement. Typically, the FBI has, they have a field office, they have an internet crime complaint center. You can also call one of us, so we can help you, get started with unwinding that. I believe that there's a way that you can also submit an abuse report to the hosting provider or the domain registrar by asking them to take down that imposter site. And most importantly, you might want to consider posting an alert on your website or send email notifications to warn people that, and your vendors, maybe your clients and your vendors that you do business with, of this imposter website, and please be careful with that. So
that's information. And I like the fact of Googling yourself and just to see what's the latest and greatest, that is out there about, your business. And I would even encourage, some Google alerts, maybe on some, in our field, we have it on our employees and that comes up. But that FBI office with the internet, isn't that IC3, the Internet Crimes Division through the FBI? I think it's IC3.com, and that's where you can also submit internet crimes to the FBI.
.gov.
So we are here to help you and any kind of people on this call. So you can always reach out to the Better Business Bureau to get some help. I'm sorry,
No,
but even us, we're a team that is here to help all our businesses and to.
Mr. Collins, you said something, and I think the video lapsed. What did you say?
I was letting you know that the web address for the FBI Internet Crime page is ic3.gov.
IC3.gov. See, I was about to lead you to an imposter site, on a government imposter site. And Anna, with the Federal Trade Commission, isn't there, certainly there's no government imposter sites.
Well, unfortunately, there are. And just to build on what Nuala said about imposter websites, we actually know of a website right now that was mimicking the Federal Trade Commission, that was doing business as USTradeCommission.com, and was asking people to input their information, their personal information, into this website. So it was really just a scammer who was trying to get people's information so that they could use it for their, own benefit. And we know that government and imposter scams in general are on the rise. In fact, we just received the data from the FTC reports that we received from Americans in 2020, and imposter scams were actually the top category of fraud that were reported. And Americans reported losing $1.2 billion to imposter scams last year. And we also know that imposter scams are one of the top categories of fraud reported that's related to COVID-19. So one of the things we know are that scammers follow the headlines, and with all the disruption in society these days and people unable to visit their government offices in person, or economic stimulus payments that are coming out, scammers are really looking for ways to capitalize on people trying to stay in touch with the government or get benefits that the government is issuing due to the pandemic. And so people often ask, what are really the types of government imposter schemes that we see? So they really run the gamut. One of the top things that we hear, and probably many of you have experienced, is receiving a call from somebody saying that they're the Social Security Administration or your local sheriff's department. And when they're calling for the Social Security Administration, they're often telling you that your Social Security number has been associated with fraud, or that your EIN number, if your business, has been associated with fraud, and that they are telling you that you have to either pay to have it unfrozen, or they're asking you for personal information or your business information, bank account information. And they're doing all of this so that they can have your financial information and take advantage of that. And so we know that scammers are also looking at things like the economic impact payments that just came out, or the PPP loans, and that people are reporting that they are actually getting numbers with the caller ID reading that it's coming from a governmental agency like the SBA or the IRS, and that people are saying, hey, you received this payment in error, and you need to return the money, or they're saying you can get money faster by paying the government for jumping the line, essentially, in order to get your PPP loan. And so these are all ways that people have reported to us that scammers are taking advantage of the headlines and what they're seeing going on with the government in order to take money away from people who actually need it and deserve it. And so things that people should be on the lookout for is, really, it raises two red flags. If the government is not going to call or text or contact you on social media telling you that you can receive a benefit, or that you can jump in line, or that you owe them money, these communications are really going to happen by US mail. And the government is never going to tell you that you have to repay money to the government by cash or check card. And a lot of times these scammers are really looking for you not to trust your gut feeling that there's something off, or that the request is wrong. And they will also operate even a second layer of the government imposter scam, where they say, hey, if you don't trust me, here's a number to call to verify that this request is real. And so they have their scammer buddies and their cohorts on the other line who, when you call, will pick up the phone and say, this is the IRS, or this is the SBA. And so people feel like they have done their due diligence in verifying the information, when in fact what they're doing is just talking to another layer of the scam. And so people really need to remember that it is very easy to spoof a caller ID number, that they can make it look like it's coming from the government, and that if you need to get in contact with a governmental agency, what you should do is go to their legitimate website, find the number to call, or if you receive something in the mail, call the number that's located there and request information that way. And so for these types of payments, going to irs.gov is a great idea. Or if you need help or you feel like you've been scammed, you can report it to the FTC as well at reportfraud.ftc.gov. And then the final category of governmental scams that we're really seeing these days is, because of the pandemic, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services has reopened healthcare.gov through May 15th to give people the chance to enroll for health insurance. And like we said, scammers follow the headlines. And since they're seeing this emerge in the press, they're also taking advantage of it. And they're doing things like saying, hey, we can help you find a health insurance program. And they're calling themselves navigators or assisters. And there are legitimate navigators or assisters, but they're not allowed to request money for their services. So if somebody is telling you that you have to pay them to help you find an insurance plan through the government, then you need to report them for fraud.
Wow. So, following the headlines, let's jump right into it. And Sean, have you guys there at the Attorney General's office, have y'all had anything, are there any scams related to the vaccinations that are coming out?
I'll tell you, there are some concerns about the vaccine, posting information about getting a vaccine. If you get your vaccine, we all hope people are doing that. If you, when you get the card, it's going to have your birthday on it. And sometimes people are posting these on social media that say, hey, look, I've got the vaccine. But that contains personal information that then can be used for identity theft. So we're warning strongly against posting your birth date on social media, because that can lead to problems for you with your identity. Backing up just a bit about some of the cyber fraud that's going on. One mention I want to make is the business email compromise fraud that the FBI is reporting makes up about 40% of the cyber fraud today, where the crooks are sometimes changing an email to make it look like it's from someone in the business, and they might ask for information about, maybe ask to send gift cards, or maybe there's an invoice that's sent that contains a different routing number. Businesses need to be very cautious about this business email compromise scam that's ongoing. And just yesterday, our office, along with district attorneys and the Department of Justice, announced a Georgia cyber fraud task force that's going to focus on some of this business email compromise fraud. So it is just like Nuala and Anna and Kelvin mentioned, report the scam, report it to someplace so it gets to the right place and law enforcement becomes aware of this, because we don't know unless it's reported. And going back to the vaccines, we do want people's personal identifying information to be safe. So please don't post that information on there. And we are also seeing scams, or concerned about seeing scams, where individuals might ask you to pay to get in line for the vaccine. You're not going to have to do that. Go to reputable websites like the Georgia Department of Public Health to make sure that you're going to a correct website and not going to a spoofed site. The Department of Public Health's website is dph.ga.gov. So please do go to a trusted source. Watch out for emails that come to you. They could be legitimate, but take your time and verify that they are by doing your own search and depend on your own research, not just something that's coming in through the inbox.
Well, Sean, you just blew my mind, because I didn't think the vaccine would take if I didn't get the vaccine and then show my card on Facebook. I thought that was part of the vaccine, the way it went. And then, I've got an offer to, if I pay a little bit of money, I can get in front of some other people and I can get the vaccine first. And you said that's not true.
Right, that's correct. You can register, go to that Department of Public Health website. You can register. You're not going to be able to line jump. And although we've seen some reports of that in the news, where people are trying to get ahead in the line, but there are processes set up that are legitimate, and don't get tricked. I mean, a lot of people want to get the vaccine and they are looking for other ways, but the legitimate way is to go to that Department of Public Health website.
Several of you have said, where the headlines go, scams go also. And, trying to get in line, we saw earlier this week where two younger ladies dressed up as senior citizens and tried to get in line, and they got in trouble. But, what scares me is we see charities doing that. And Nuala, you are over the charity division for the state of Georgia. And looking at that, are you telling me that there's some bad stuff out there as far as charities go?
So yeah, there are a couple of things. I'll address the charities. I do want to bring up really quickly, go back on the email, because I think it's important, for businesses to think about email takeover. An email takeover. We take security training here at the Secretary of State's office, and one of the things on my recent security training, I learned that email account takeover attacks plague 1 in 7 businesses. It's amazing. It can happen to a business email account. They're easily hacked as our own personal accounts. When the perpetrator gains access, he's looking for, sensitive company info with the goal of, transferring money out of your company. So there were 2 instances that we've seen where, a scammer is posing as a brokerage firm, contacting, a very big brokerage firm actually, and contacting its clients. And this interesting twist, because they're using kind of a tech support scam along with this, reaching out via email. And so the client started receiving alerts by fake email accounts, even texts, even telephone calls, that this big brokerage firm had a tech support issue and that the company's tech support team was going to have to reach out to the clients to fix the problem. So part of the fixing the problem was that this tech support team had to take over the client's computer. So in doing that, when the people, believe that, the fake tech support team was installing malware to steal, info from the clients, primarily, their personal information and their login credentials to all their financial, institutions, including this brokerage firm. So obviously it wasn't the company's tech support. Obviously they got it in time. To date, I know various state securities administrators are looking at this. 85 clients got affected, which is, bad, but pretty good compared to this big scam. But unfortunately, most of them were seniors. So just like they can come and pretend to be you, they can also pretend to be your client or your customer. So we had one pretty bad one where a client of a very small financial firm got his info hacked, and the scammer, took on his identity, sends an email to the financial firm requesting the financial firm liquidate $80,000 from his retirement account and to wire it to a bank in California. Well, the client, who is a senior, lived in Valdosta, Georgia. So you would think that the business would think, oh, something's wrong with this. Well, they took the email as legitimate and they wired $80,000 to that bank in California. And 30 days later, when the client got his financial statement, opened it up and saw what happened to my $80,000, that's when, they found out. The problem was, in investigating it, once the money got to California, within 24 hours, that money left the country and that bank account in California was shut down. So this was a devastating blow to the business, because at the end of the day, the business is responsible and had to find a way, to make up for that $80,000. And for a small business, $80,000, could cripple, a business. So it's very, very, you need to be very vigilant that you know who you're talking to. Pick up the phone and call your customer, your vendor, or your client if you get some unusual email. So with COVID, going to charities, COVID scams.
I'll jump in on that one before we leave it.
Yeah.
I want to jump in on the business email compromise scam, because that is such a huge thing for businesses. We're seeing so many businesses hit with that scam. And last year, the Better Business Bureau system did a really in-depth study on how it works, what's required in it, and things like that. And Jason, if you'll, after this is over with, if you'll put that on our homepage under the news and events, people can go and read up on that, because we can talk about how dangerous it is, but until you read some of the case studies of exactly how that worked and I read through some of them and it's like, wow, that could work here. So definitely we'll put that up and educate yourself on that. And I had made a couple notes. I want to go back before we move to charities also. And Anna, you were talking about calling the IRS and them confirming. We see the spoofed phone numbers all the time. But one red flag is if you can get through to the IRS in less than 15 minutes, that's a huge red flag. Most people know that. But I saw a study that the Better Business Bureau did on our BBB scam tracker on imposter scams. And 53% of the scams that we heard from businesses were related to that imposter scam. So those are things that are really affecting businesses and hitting their bottom line now.
And the best thing that businesses can do to protect themselves is really to educate their employees. Yes. Let them know what to look for. Let them know, hey, I'm never going to ask you to send me anything via wire transfer or gift card, or if you have a question, pick up the phone and call me, because a lot of these scammers, they're taking advantage of the fact that people are working from home and not right down the hall from their boss and can't go and ask a question. And they prey on the immediacy. They're saying, this is an emergency, do this now, so that the person doesn't have a chance to call or do that gut check. So really educate your employees on what to look out for. Tell them not to click on anything that they don't recognize, so your business doesn't become victim of a phishing attack. Tell them if they have questions, to call, and that everybody do their due diligence in order to protect your business from these types of attacks.
And I'm going to piggyback on what you're saying, Anna, and the fact that, it's not just your email as the leader of a business. It's every single employee and their emails as well. And all it takes is one click. And this is the weakest link in which malware comes in. And we've seen multiple businesses here, in Middle Georgia, but in our service area as well, absolutely shut down because an employee clicked on the wrong emails. That training about emails, it's not nice. It's not something that you should do. It's going to be key to, sidestepping a downfall.
Well, it's not just businesses that are targeted, government agencies. I mean, we remember either late 2019, early 2020, when the Georgia Highway Patrol was hit with the ransomware, and it locked their system up. I know of several businesses that I've talked to where the owners of the business paid in Bitcoin to have their data released just because they were losing more money by not being up and operational than they would just doing that. Department of Driver Services got hit. So these are things that all they need is one of your employees to click on that link, and they've got they're a camel with their nose inside the tent. That's all it takes to have that entire camel in the tent with you.
All right, before we go to charities, and we're going to come back to charities, I think this is a good segue because Mr. Collins, you just said the Department of Driver Services got hit. Is that? Yeah. So they got hacked, and they got all the information off of our driver's licenses. So all that information, and we know like Equifax and OPM and some other hacks that have happened in the past. So the reason why we're segueing here is it like with identity theft, it's not if it's going to happen, is it more when it's going to happen?
Yeah, we've made it into that era where used to we would tell people how to prevent identity theft, but you're not going to prevent identity theft any longer. It's minimizing your chances is all you can really do. And you can control everything that you have. You can have your credit report frozen. You can do everything right. But the electric company, the water company, all the other companies that have your information, you can't control how they use your data, and eventually they're going to get hacked, and that's just going to happen. And what Sean was talking about earlier, the showing your vaccine card on social media. I mean, a lot of people are thinking, well, that's really not a big deal. And by itself, it may not be a big deal, but when you think about it, if you go by your middle name, then that vaccine card has your full name on it. It has your date of birth, and we put it in the same category as all of those Facebook surveys that you do of your favorite teacher, where you lived when you were a child, you know, your first telephone number. If you really think about those things, those are questions when you forget your password that can be asked. So with all of those different things that you're doing online, someone could piece those together and be able to get into your other accounts. So by themselves, they may seem very safe, but when you start adding all these things together on social media, that's where they have a treasure trove of information to steal your identity.
And we call that practice, we call that phishing, not only on social media, but through emails or, text messages as well. But, hey, it's tax time. And if my identity's stolen, and then I'm trying to file taxes, Anna, you're the federal person here. Have I got anything to worry about?
There has been a rise in tax ID theft and just surging reports and identity theft in general related to the pandemic. One of the things that we see a lot at tax time when people are filing their returns, businesses and individuals, is that they'll go to file their returns and they're being told by the IRS that their return has already been filed and that their refund has been sent. But the business or the individual hasn't received it, it's gone to somebody else who's taken their identity. So we're seeing two types of tax ID theft. We're seeing that where the refund goes to just another account. And we're seeing it where the scammers file a tax refund on your behalf and it goes actually into your business or personal account. And then you are getting the same layer of scam that we were talking about earlier, where the IRS is calling you or they're emailing you and saying, hey, this money was accidentally or was not supposed to be refunded to you, and you need to repay it. And you need to either wire transfer us the money, or you need to send it on a gift card or some other means. And once that money is sent, it's gone. And you now have to deal with the repercussions of it, not only your identity having been stolen, but also having to deal with the IRS and getting your tax situation cleared up. So it's, it's layer upon layer that these scammers are sophisticated. They're not just stopping at the one layer of the scam, they're building upon it to take as much advantage of possible as they can of people. So we really encourage people, as we were saying, go see if your credit anything has been opened up in your name. If you get a report from the IRS that you already received a tax return or that there's been a duplicate filing, which you'd get if you were filing online, then report it to the IRS, report it to identitytheft.gov. And actually on that website, it will walk you step by step how to report identity theft. And it will also give you an affidavit to file with the IRS to say that your identity was stolen and that this money didn't go to you.
Now this, and what Anna said, it's an amazing website, identitytheft.gov. We know here in the state of Georgia that identity theft happens every 2.5 seconds. That's not a record we like to, post anywhere. But as the Better Business Bureau, we send out identitytheft.gov walks you through everything you need to know when your identity's been stolen. But there's so with the whole identity theft, you think about all this and how I want to show you how your information is valuable. And so I find out that you have a business. I find out kind of where you do business and then what you need. And Sean, if I call up, let's say I call up a restaurant at midday and it'd be really bad if their water went out, wouldn't it? So I could kind of pose as a water company. Does that kind of thing ever happen, Sean?
Yes, the scam artists are creative, and they do something called utility scams, and it can be with water, any utility. We hear most about it with electricity, where a business might get a call, and this can happen to consumers, but it does target businesses. Hey, you're late on your bill, and if you don't go and get a gift card or a green dot money card and send it to us within 6 hours, you're going to have the power cut off. And when you're a small business and you've got a shop full of customers, or your computers are running, and we're doing more online now, but you're doing your work online, you don't want your electricity shut off. And the scam artists are very creative. In fact, I'm going to play a call, and let's see if this is going.
Georgia Power, a Southern company. Main menu. If you're calling about a power outage, dangerous condition, or for any other power problem, press 1 or say power problem. For billing or payment matters, press 2.
Okay, so that was the actual, if you're a Georgia Power customer and you ever called Georgia Power, that sounds like the Georgia Power company. Well, it's not. That's a phone number was left, a recording was left on a small business's voicemail saying to call that number back. So we called it back and recorded the phone call, but it just goes to the extent the scam artists are getting creative in adding legitimacy to their ruse. So we all have to, as Anna alluded to earlier, they're using the element of surprise, and you got to act now. So watch out for these utility scams, which are making the rounds. Most recently, we've heard about them hitting our Georgia EMCs. They do hit all manner of utility.
Well, Sean, so I'm sitting here, and it's hard enough to run a business during a pandemic. And then, everybody you're telling me about government websites, it could be imposters, and I'm thinking back with my PPP and then the Department of Labor and everything and all the time I've had to spend on that. And just as a small business owner, I've got a lot of time going on. And then the invoices start coming in. Mm-hmm. There's invoices everywhere. You told me earlier about an invoice scam. Is there invoice scams?
Yes, absolutely. Where a fake invoice is created to make it look like a business you've dealt with in the past, or maybe not. So it's very important for the whoever's doing the billing in the company to be very aware and simply not sign off on anything that comes through the door.
My goodness. So Kelvin or Anna, have y'all seen anything, or Nuala, have y'all seen anything relating to invoices and small businesses?
Invoice scams are probably one of the top 5 calls that we get from businesses. And, businesses a lot of scammers see them as dealing in higher dollars. So we've all heard for years of the paper pirates, toner folks. And when I speak to businesses, they're always surprised to learn that typically 57% of business scams are the telephone is used. So they're calling you, and the worst time, actually the best time for a scam artist, worst time for a business for them to be taken is during the lunch hour. And that's because that person that typically answers the phone that has gotten used to those calls saying, hey, I'm calling from your copier company. I need the serial number, the copier count, anything like that. Well, that person that takes those calls and they say, no, you're not who you say you are, and they hang up. During lunch, someone that's not used to it, they answer that, like, oh, well, hold on, let me go get that. And that's when you get that fake invoice for toner and paper that's about 4 times what you're typically going to pay for it. So those are little ways that they come in and they're able to take advantage of you. And Also, you talk about businesses losing money on scams. You have to remember that one of the studies that I saw said that for small businesses, 1 out of every 5 employees loses $800 or more each year to a scam.
Wow.
Well, if they're dealing with those scams like the IRS, they can't file their claim or whatever, that lost time and productivity from that employee is going to cut into your bottom line. So what can you do? Help educate your employees on what to look out for as an individual. And then that's going to help you save money in the long run.
Outstanding. Go ahead, Anna.
I was just going to add that there are also government invoice scams. You know, we get reports that people are getting invoices in the mail or being told over the phone that they have to pay for things that are actually free, like posters that they're required to put up in their offices by the Department of Labor or by OSHA, and they'll be charged, you know, $1,200, $1,600 for these posters by these scammers. And they don't realize that they actually don't have to pay for them, but somebody not knowing and wanting to do the right thing, wanting to post the things that they're supposed to post in their business, are losing money to these scammers with these fake invoices.
All right, guys, it is charity time. We said we would come back to the charities, and we are here. And we know from, especially the 4 of you guys know that, you know, the scammers follow the headlines, and where, you know, as good people, we give to causes, especially that get near and dear to our heart. And so, you know, unfortunately, there's some scammers here. So Nuala, tell us about the charities. Nuala, I think you're on mute again.
Okay, hold on.
There we go. I can hear you now.
Okay, great. So charity scams, a scam artist, when they're using a charity scam, plays on the generosity through emotional appeals. So what I can tell you is that these scam artists, they don't take holidays, and they particularly love disasters. So that's when you're going to see an uprise in the charity scam. And like you know, they want to help, but the difference is they just want to help they want to help themselves to your money. But we're seeing that not just individuals are getting, you know, hit by scams, but businesses, especially small ones, because small businesses, especially during COVID, are trying to help each other and help the community. So they're giving generously to the community. So scammers are taking advantage of this by reaching out to these businesses and requesting support for fraudulent donations sites. So, you know, what you can do, there are several things that you can do, which I'll tell you in a minute, but there's one thing that we did see recently, we got a complaint on and we're working on, and it involved a charity scam, which actually involves kind of like a identity theft of a particular company. So in the charity space, you have the charitable organizations, the 501c3s, and then you have organizations who they hire to raise money for them, because people who call you do not necessarily work for the charity. They may be hired by a for-profit organization that's called a paid solicitor firm, and they make those calls to you. So a solicitor consultant firm had its, a legit paid solicitor consulting firm had its identity taken. And the bad actors actually took over the company. They recruited people to make calls in Georgia and Florida to solicit donors for a particular charity. The recruits, the employees that they hired, were told that they actually worked for the legitimate solicitations company by the man who actually did the recruitment. So these people were on the phone calling Georgians and Floridians, raising money for charities, thinking that they were working for this legitimate company, thinking that the money was going, for the various charities. Well, part of, as a charity administrator and along with other, states, we do a lot of outreach. And one of the things that we say is, if you get a call from a solicitor, ask them what percentage of the money is going to you and what percentage of the money is actually going to the solicitor, because not all the money goes, to the charity. So a very wise donor asked that question of one of the employees of the groups, and she asked her, what percentage are you going to get and what percentage is the charity going to get? So the recruit didn't know the answer to that question and told the donor, you know what, I'll find out and call you back. So instead of calling the number that the scam artist gave the recruit, she did a Google search, found the legitimate company online, calls the company, only to find out after talking to HR that she doesn't work there. And, that this man, doesn't work there either. So after, an investigation, the company discovered that she wasn't the only one that was, hired to do this. And meanwhile, the bad actor, who was very sophisticated, had set up a PayPal account so that all the donations that were being raised were going directly to his PayPal account. So that is an example of, of how a charity fraud can happen by someone taking over your company and you unwittingly, are contributing to that. So in charities fraud, if someone reaches out to you, if they email you or text you claiming to be from a charity, from pay solicitor, or use a current crisis or the current crisis to click, get you to click or link on a link or download a file, this may be an attempt to infect your company with malicious malware that could, with the intent of stealing your company's information, but most importantly, financial information, because what they want to do is take your money. So you need to proactively, take the same step as a company as you would if you were an individual. Don't let your guard down. When the charity comes asking, before you make that donation as a company, make sure, number one, you know who you're talking to, and number two, you know where that money's going to. So ask questions. Don't be pressured to give. Stop. Go look on the internet. Call the charity back if you have to. Another thing you want to do is confirm that the organization that's asking for the money actually has a tax deductible status. So you can go to the IRS site and at irs.gov, and you can check the 501c3 status to see, am I really giving to a charity? I mean, is there, 501c3 status good, or, has it been revoked? So another thing is, don't get confused by names. Not all organizations with charitable sounding names are actually charities. Many organizations adopt names confusingly similar to legit organizations. So again, do your research and look on the website. And be wary of the telephone calls, telephone solicitations. Solicitors, they're getting paid to call you. Some, as I told you, are not real solicitors. So, what you need to do is don't feel pressured to give at that time. The best thing to do is, pick up the phone and, call the charity, or go to the charity's legit website and give directly to the charity. So it's the same thing. It's just you're doing it as a business.
I got you. All right. So we are to the point. We don't want to keep anybody longer than what we had planned. We want to see if there's any questions out there. And so please, you can use the chat feature. You can unmute yourself. You can ask a question. I actually have one come in already, Anna, and it's, is it okay for companies to ask me to buy something to be in a drawing? Like, the only way I can be in a drawing is if I purchase something. Is that okay?
That is considered a lottery by the Federal Trade Commission's standards, and I think probably state standards as well, but Sean might be able to talk to that. One of the things that everybody's been talking about today is full disclosure, is that people need to know what they're getting into. So if people are asking you to buy something in order to enter a lottery or to win something, there's a connection that's not being told to people. And so really we encourage people to say, hey, you don't have to purchase anything to enter this, or otherwise you're violating, I think Sean can speak to the state of Georgia, but at least federal regulations there.
Yes, I think to put it mildly, Georgia would frown upon paying for a prize as well. You shouldn't have to do that, and there should be full disclosure.
Excellent. Well, does anybody have any questions? Again, you can unmute yourself. You can put it in the chat. Is there anything that you would like the experts to comment on? All right. Dead space is killing me here. What about experts? Is there anything else we need to say?
I'll throw something out there. Something our viewers can help out with is remembering whatever faith tradition you're in. Remember that your local, whatever church, synagogue, whatever you belong to, that's a small business too. And they're dealing with the same sorts of scams that nonprofits and businesses are. So if you have an opportunity, speak with the church staff if you know them, and let them know about these issues too. That can be really helpful to the community. And I'm also going to put a plug in for a guide that we created specifically for small businesses, nonprofits, and religious organizations, a cybersecurity guide to just help with getting information into the hands of people that need it. Some of the information is best practices, and just review it. And it's available on our website at consumer.ga.gov, consumer.georgia.gov.
Excellent. Well, all of these organizations are fine organizations, and they have a lot of information on our websites. And you can see here, I encourage you to take a screenshot, take a shot with your phone camera, write these web addresses down, because, we're in it every single day. We see identity theft all the time. We see, scams on businesses. We see scams dealing with charities. And what we don't want to see is you at the front of the line. So please, we encourage you, use our services and contact us anytime you need anything. Panel, I don't want to cut anybody's time short on asking questions. Are there any questions?
Jason, I would
I was
just today and say that if you remember two things, is train yourself and train your staff. And if you can do those two things, you lessen your chances of being victimized. And businesses are a good target, because study shows that businesses are less likely to report the scams. So if someone rips you off from a few $100s, you may not report it, whereas a consumer would. And all of us have material that we can provide. If you are in an area close by, any of us can come and, well, I don't guess we can come now during the pandemic, but this is going to be recorded, put on our website. Do something to educate your employees, because they're not just your employees, they're part of your bottom line as well.
That's exactly right. All right, we got time for one more comment, and then we're going to go. Who wants the final word?
I'll say that I understand and I get it that your business, that as a business, you want to make it easy, for the customer experience to be easy and effortless, less hurdles, But at the same time, you need to balance that with putting, up enough hurdles that protects your business. And because too easy also makes it too easy for scammers to scam you or use your business to scam others. So I suggest investing in some protection. Just like if you were a brick and mortar store, you have security, you need to do the same thing with online.
All right, so you know what, guys, it's time for us to go. And we actually had somebody thank us for hosting this Zoom, and they've learned something they can educate their clients on. Hey, thank you for attending. And if you ever need the Better Business Bureau, the Attorney General's Office of Consumer Protection Division, the Secretary of State, the Securities and Charities Division, or the Federal Trade Commission, these fine people are there for you and would love to work with you. So thank you again for attending. And please, if you need anything from us, let us know.